Tonight on the Donlon Report, we have a lot to be thankful for, but sometimes it's easy to forget that. Tonight, we're going to discuss a few things that all Americans can celebrate, our own sort of positive spin on what's happening. Also, the 3 men charged in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery found guilty. We have our legal panel to weigh in on that. And as a lot of Americans prepare to shop till they drop this holiday weekend, do you have to worry about all the smash and grab looters and maybe even barricades around your shopping mall? We're outside Bloomingdale's with an update ahead. Wishing you and yours a happy Thanksgiving. Great to have you with us. The Donlon Report starts right now. Good evening. It hasn't happened in 50 years. The number of people filing for unemployment for the first time this week just went down to levels we haven't seen since 1969. Here's another eye-opener from the White House. This time last year, during Thanksgiving week, there were more than 21 million people getting unemployment checks. This year, it's down to just more than 2 million people. Now, granted, there are a lot of factors that go into that, but it says a lot about where we are and how far we've come in the last year. There are also a record number of job openings. There's work if you want it. There's a vaccine available if you want it for a virus that has caused global chaos. And the markets have been hovering around record highs. Just a few things to consider as we pause for a holiday to give thanks. And that is the pulse of America tonight. We like to say on this show, there's more that brings us together than divides us, or there should be anyway. Sometimes it seems hard to cut through the noise and realize all that we have here.
I completely concur. When I was a kid, they would say, eat your vegetables, finish your food. There are people in Africa who are starving. And we were like, I don't care about anyone in Africa. I just don't like pimento loaf, or I don't like Salisbury steak. That's who we are. So good luck getting us to appreciate how good we have it compared to the rest of the world.
Well, we will gather over this holiday with family. Remember last year, most of us couldn't and didn't. It was a risky proposition with COVID. Fewer people are reportedly driving this holiday, mainly because of gas prices. That's been a big story in the news. Fact is, it might cost us a little more, but seeing grandma and grandpa is an option this year, and for that, we are grateful. We couldn't help but think of the families we've talked with on this broadcast who have loved ones being held overseas, like the Fensters, whose son Danny was just released from Myanmar, and the parents of Trevor Reed, who's still being held in a Russian prison.
They said he can write letters now, which they haven't let him do, and we'll see if that's another lie. But we're very concerned about his health right now, and we just want him out of there.
Moving on, supply chain issues have dominated the news as well. There's talk of liquor and wine shortages. Egads. Even Christmas trees, but we all know we'll end up with pretty much what we want, and if not, certainly what we need. We know social media makes us angrier, but maybe we should be thankful for those platforms too. It's a way to connect and stay in touch and voice our opinions. At the same time, let's celebrate our ability to unplug every now and then, and we should, for our sanity. Perhaps that goes for the media as well. An informed public is critical, but does the media play a role in dividing us? Controversy sells. So does outrage, and there's plenty of that. So for that, maybe we're thankful for Netflix and the streaming services that allow us to check out for an hour or two and watch whatever we want on demand. We like to quote our contributor, George Will, who said, "We should all just eat a cheese sandwich and relax. It's going to be okay." Whatever you eat this Thanksgiving holiday, here's hoping we can all find something to celebrate. Maybe we have to look a little harder or think a little differently, but it's definitely there. Joining me now for more on this and some of the tensions that might arise over the holiday dinner table, the host of the Mo Kelly Show, our friend Mo Kelly, and our friend, former Texas State Representative Rick Green. Mo, let's start with you. You guys talk with people every day on your shows, and I know it gets contentious because I follow your Twitter feeds. What's your advice? Do you keep politics off the table?
For my household, it's kind of what brings us together because of social media, you kind of know where your family members stand for most of the year, for most of the issues. So when you come together, it's more just a continuation of a conversation. But I have a very small family. Both my parents, thank goodness, are still alive, but they're both only children. I have an older sister and her husband, they only have one son. And so we have a very small family. So politics are okay at our dinner table, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's true for everyone.
Rick, as a former politician, I'm sure politics are on the menu in your household. But you've also experienced the decorum of a political body. How does it change at the dinner table?
Well, kind of like Mo, I mean, most of the folks that come in from the family are somewhat in the same arena on the political thing. But I just recommend to people, look, when you have these discussions, I think it is important to talk about religion and politics when you get together as a family, because if you don't have civil discourse, you're going to end up in civil war. And I think if we avoid these big topics that we're all thinking about, it just drives us further apart. So the key thing is to ask questions and look for things that you can agree upon and agree that you're going to seek truth. And, of course, stand for what you believe in, but genuinely try to understand why they believe what they believe if there is a difference. And I think you'll find you can actually end up with a great conversation around the dinner table. Man,
that sounds great. It almost sounds a little easier than it is in practice, though. Let me ask you about this. At our meeting today, guys, we talked about how really the last time the country was together, all together, was when we were under attack on 9/11. I think we all had sort of a common enemy. And since then, there's nothing really that's brought us together. We've had national tragedies that you think would, but it always seems to lead to a debate on some aspect of it or finger pointing. Mo?
Well, that's why I'm always rooting for aliens to land a ship on the White House lawn, because I think that's about the only thing which will unify us at this point. I will hope that we could come together without there being a national tragedy, emergency, or a wartime setting. But unfortunately, historically, or at least recently in history, that's what has been necessitated. Hopefully, this will be a period in our history, but not necessarily the transformation of our society. I remain hopeful and optimistic on this holiday.
Rick, why do you think it is that we've become so comfortable attacking one another?
Well, I'm more optimistic than most people, kind of like Mo. And I'm not going to say this, Joe, just because I'm on your show, but you just got through channeling Abraham Lincoln. I mean, the last time we were anywhere close to this divided, in fact, we were much more divided than right now. In 1863, in November, he looked around and said, look, we're killing each other. This is an unbelievably painful time in our history. And yet when he did that Thanksgiving proclamation, he pointed out all the positive things, just like you did at the top of the hour. And he said, look, there's a lot of bad things happening, but we've got to look to God and thank God for what he has given us that's good. We've got to look to each other and find what actually brings us together and can unite us again. I think we can channel a little bit more Lincoln this year, be thankful for what is good, open up those conversations and start saying what can bring us back together. And if I can just throw one more guy in there, Patrick Henry said in his Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech, he said, according to the magnitude of the subject ought to be the freedom of the debate. The subject today is pretty big. Is our nation going to stay together? That should open up a freedom of discussion amongst our fellow family members around the Thanksgiving table. But let's start with giving thanks for all the good things we've got.
Yeah, great points. Let's look inward if we can. And I guess when I say that, I mean us in the media. Robbie Suave from Reason Magazine was on this week, and he talked about the state of the media. Here's part of what he said.
And there's a responsibility for the news media, the people who traffic in this, to turn down the temperature a little bit, to be a little bit less snap in their judgments. I mean, that was a lot of the problem with the early Rittenhouse coverage, and just kind of wait and let it simmer a little bit, and you'll do better. Not you specifically, obviously. You're doing a fantastic job, but a lot of other people.
We appreciated that from Robbie. Mo, let's go there. Is the media, I guess, responsible for much of this? Outrage drives a lot of cable news, let's face it.
I'm quite sure, but also I think we need a lesson as far as what media is. It's not just news media, it's social media, it's broadcast television, it's public radio, it's all these things which come together to form our collective consciousness around these issues. And we don't have the same priorities, unfortunately. Some of us are in it for eyeballs, some of it for just for ears and listens and plays and streams. And so until we can get on one page and have a singular focus as far as the level of responsibility in understanding that we have a collective responsibility in not being irresponsible in how we discuss these issues. Until we get to that point, then we're going to still continue to struggle with this.
Rick, a lot of this stems from politics, and that was your world for a lot of years.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with Mo again. I mean, I think we got to focus in on the responsibility part. We always love to talk about our rights. You know, I've got the right to do this or the right to do that, and sometimes, you know, I'm guilty of that as well, kind of ranting about those rights. But there's always a corresponding responsibility. So whether it's our right to keep and bear arms, it's our right of the freedom of the press, or our right of freedom of speech, there comes a responsibility with that. And so for all of us in media, a huge responsibility, because it's going to influence folks, and it's going to either gin them up and get them fired up, or it's going to get them to think and have reason. So I love exactly what you're saying. What a great reminder for all of us to remember our responsibility as we're speaking on that topic, and not just, getting people all fired up, but actually getting them to think about what's happening.
Great perspective to start us off tonight. Mo Kelly and Rick Green, it's great to have you both. Take care. Enjoy the holidays.
Thanks, Joe. You too.
Joining me now for more on the best way to handle maybe these holiday dinner table tensions. We tried to find an interesting guest on this, and look who we found, the host of the Steve Wilkos Show, Steve Wilkos. So, Steve, are there any topics off limits at your house during the holidays?
It's really interesting at our holidays, especially when I would go home to Chicago to see my family. Politics wasn't a thing that set everybody off. But we would have some really Donnybrooks going on, a lot of fights. So I decided we stay in Connecticut now. We don't go home for Thanksgiving.
Did you ever say, "Get out of my kitchen, I'm done with you"?
Well, not really.
So politics are a hot issue, obviously, and always, Steve. But what about like things, the vaccine mandate with Uncle Frank, who won't get it? Do you talk about that with Uncle Frank?
It's what's crazy about the vaccine. I'm vaccinated. My wife's vaccinated. My children are vaccinated. And I have buddies that I golf with all the time, and some of them aren't vaccinated. But it's kind of crazy. Like, they want to push it on me. You shouldn't get vaxxed, and send me all this stuff on, vaccines, that they're bad and this and that. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm vaxxed, so don't send me this stuff. Like, if you don't want to get it, that's fine. But don't it's too late for me. I'm vaccinated.
Right. There's a point in your show, always, Steve, where things are about to jump off the rails here. And it's almost sort of like you're okay with that, right? But we don't want to see that at the dinner table. How do we avoid getting to that point?
Yeah, maybe not serve so much wine. That's probably number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and I'm not kidding. Like, when I say it, when I would go home and visit my family, every Thanksgiving kind of ended with somebody storming out. And like I said, I can't pinpoint and say, yeah, it was politics, it was this, it was that. One year, a bunch of family members got in a huge fight about mammograms.
Wow.
So, it's kind of crazy. And so, like, now, my daughter just came home from college, so it's just going to be the four of us. So when it's just the four of us, there's never any drama. But
yeah,
and I think, like,
nobody on the floor like this, right? I mean,
that looked like Thanksgiving about 5 years ago back in Chicago.
Oh man! All right, hey Steve, it's always great to have you. Are you done with me?
No, I'm not. I love being on the show.
I know. I wanted to hear you say, "I'm done with you. Get out of my studio." That never gets old. Hey, Steve, thanks again, man. Appreciate the time. Good to see you, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Joe. You too.
All right, we're going to shift gears coming up after the break. 3 men, all found guilty of murder. That is the verdict from the jury in the trial of Ahmaud Arbery's death. Our legal experts are standing by to weigh in. Again, that's next. And will the recent string of smash and grab robberies be coming to your local mall this holiday weekend? And will you be seeing increased security? We'll get into that. And don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report on Twitter. Back after this.
Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. I'm going to ask that whoever just made an outburst be removed from the court, please.
All 3 suspects found guilty for the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. The jury found Travis McMichael, his father Greg McMichael, and their neighbor William Ryan guilty of felony murder, among other charges, in a case that, together with the killing of George Floyd, helped inspire the racial justice protests of last year. All 3 men now facing life in prison. Here's what Ahmaud Arbery's mom said after the verdict was read.
It's been a long fight. It's been a hard fight, but God is good. Yes, He is. Early in, to tell you the truth, I never saw this day back in 2020. I never thought this day would come, but God is good.
Here to talk now about the case, criminal defense attorneys Mark O'Mara and Brian Watkins. Mark, let's start with you. The jury took about 11 and a half hours to get to this verdict. It was clear they were very thorough and they had a lot to differentiate here.
They really did, and I'm very glad. Quite honestly, I thought it was going to be a longer time to get to a unanimous verdict, and I was even troubled as to whether or not they would get to one because of the demographics of the jury, the location of the trial. But what I really like about the deliberations and the verdicts was that it evidenced that they really looked into the case. They were really aware of the charges because if you look at it legally, they really did find the people guilty of what they should have. Travis, obviously the malice murder. Dad, second level down, but still the murder. And even Brian, who was involved and was found guilty of the felony murder, though it may not be quite as proportional since they're all looking at the same sentence. Nonetheless, I liked the way the jury parsed out the convictions to meet the facts and the law.
Right. Brian, a lot of people I talked with felt like this case wasn't maybe as controversial as others recently because it seemed more cut and dry, more obvious. I mean, you never know where a jury's going to go, but there wasn't a lot of nuance with this case.
You know, but it did still have racial overtones, and the racial overtones was the fact that these men weren't even charged. Now, the police saw the video, and the funny thing is it wasn't until we saw the video, meaning the people out here saw the video, that they decided to charge these men. So there's where we really have a racial issue, you know, in addition to the fact that, of course, you know, they were chasing the black man down the street. But you know, the case seemed very straightforward. What they said that they did legally, you can't do. And so the jury absolutely came to the right verdict. They spliced through it. They found Mr. McMichael's not guilty of a count. That really shows that they looked at the big picture, dissected it, and basically did the right thing.
Yeah, Brian brings up a good point, Mark, because one of the bigger takeaways from all of this is what happened leading up to it. I mean, as Brian said, no one was arrested until that video turned up. And as I understand, some of the prosecutors initially had to recuse themselves because of how they handled this.
Two prosecutors took themselves off the case because they realized after the fact they did not give this case the focus and the attention that they should have. And it's strange, you're right, without that video having gotten out there to the general public, even after it was looked at by the police. And if it wasn't for the video that Mr. Bryan himself presented and saved, preserved, not only would he have not been convicted, but I don't think there would have been arrests, and there certainly would have been a trial and convictions, because it was that piece of video that took away any doubt, along with the black man running comment and trapped him like a rat comment, took away all doubt that this is what they were planning. The attempt for the citizen's arrest fell on deaf ears, as it should have, and the self-defense, which would have a place in the right set of facts, fell apart as well because they caused the situation that they could no longer hide behind the statute from.
Brian, let me get you on what I thought was some key testimony that came from Travis McMichael himself, the only defendant of the three to take the stand. Here's part of the cross-examination. Let's listen.
Could have just continued to drive behind Mr. Arbery and not even speak to him or confront him at all. And you could have stayed in your truck until he ran by and then driven away to go ahead and follow him, right?
I could have, yes.
From my observation, Brian, it almost seemed like Travis McMichael was admitting during cross-examination that what they did was wrong, and he was almost apologizing. That's how it sounded. Did it to you?
A little bit. You know, the problem with their case is that what they admitted that they did, you can't do. What they said that, hey, this is what we were doing, what they were doing was illegal. You cannot make an armed citizen's arrest based on the fact that you suspect someone has committed a crime in the past. You can only do a citizen's arrest if you were, in fact, a witness to the actual crime, and you still can't do it armed. And so the fact that they said, hey, stop or I'll blow your head off, that gave Mr. Arbery the right to actually disarm them. And so Mr. Arbery is the only one here with the right to self-defense. They did not have the right to self-defense. And so with Mr. Arbery, it did attempt to disarm him, which was legal. They had no right to defend against Mr. Arbery defending himself. Right. And so their whole case, you know, what they admitted that they did falls south of the law, and that's why they were all convicted.
Mark, let's talk a little bit about the prosecution. Let's listen to a bit of what she said today after walking out of the courthouse and was treated basically like a rock star.
The jury system works in this country, and when you present the truth to people and they can see it, they will do the right thing. And that's what this jury did today in getting justice for Ahmaud Arbery.
So I think the interesting part of this, Mark, and I'd like to get both of you on this actually, is the fact that race was such an important part of this case outside the courtroom, but not so much inside. The prosecution brought it up briefly during closings, and the defense kind of stepped in it when she talked about Ahmaud Arbery's appearance. But this prosecutor, in many ways, Mark, you tell me, put on a clinic here.
She did. Great presentation. It was very methodical. I loved her common sense. I'm absolutely stealing a couple of her analogies, like the bully in the schoolyard and the Super Bowl ring. She really brought it home to the common sense view of what these juries had to focus on and how they had to try and work their way through it. The race issue, I thought, was very complicated because of the makeup of the panel and because of the geography. But I really do think that she handled it very well, and she only really got into it in response to what I thought were outlandish comments and infusions of bad racial overtones by the defense team individually. And I thought it was handled well by the prosecution. I still have no idea why some of those comments were made by the defense team, except unless they were dog whistling to 1, 2, 3, or 4 of the jurors.
Brian, do you think it's safe to say that both of these cases, Rittenhouse and Arbery, really truly did come down to the facts, and in the end, the system worked?
Yes, I can honestly say I do believe that. You know, the Rittenhouse case is a little bit, to me, a little bit closer to not being justified, whether or not he was justified in using deadly force in response to that situation. Yes, he had the right to defend himself, but was the use of deadly force justified? And I have to disagree with that on the Rittenhouse matter. But in this case, you know, yes, the prosecution did a great job, but not to take anything away from the prosecution, the defense attorneys on this Arbery case really left me scratching my head. Why they would attempt to blame the victim is beyond me. I mean, we do victim blaming. People used to try to do victim blaming on rape cases and say, oh, well, look, what was the girl wearing or what was her sexual history? But the defense in this case took it one step further. It was almost like saying, hey, you know, there never would have been a rape if she just had sex with him. I mean, that's how outlandish their arguments were. And so and when I heard that, I did not see any way that those defendants would be walking out of there.
Right. And there's more to come. Federal charges still pending against all three involved in this case. Mark O'Meara, Brian Watkins, great to have both your voices with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. As most Americans prepare to shop till they drop this holiday weekend, do you have to worry about smash and grab looters or maybe even barricades around your shopping mall? We're outside Bloomingdale's in New York City with a holiday shopping season update. And did you pay more for your Thanksgiving meal this year? I'll speak with the grocery store owner who sued the government and won over the corporate vaccine mandate. How long will prices stay high? We'll talk to our friend Brandon about that just ahead. A wave of smash and grab crimes plaguing upscale stores in major cities across the country, with mobs of thieves making off with expensive goods in brazen raids. Their criminals have been targeting Nordstrom, Louis Vuitton, Burberry, Bloomingdale's in L.A., San Francisco, Chicago, New York. Why have there been so many of these incidents recently? Are they linked to the holiday season at all? Is it pandemic restlessness? What's going on? For more on this and the retail markets, let's bring in retail analyst Hitha Herzog. She's outside Bloomingdale's in Manhattan. Hitha, it's great to see you. It's been a little while. Let's start with this security issue. Are you seeing increased security around these stores in New York?
Here in New York, we are seeing more security measures being taken. However, overall, you're seeing retailers with a real lack of security. And experts I've spoken to have said, you know, some people are saying that it has nothing to do with the pandemic, it's unrelated to it. But when you think about it, there has been a lack of labor in retail, and that trickles down to security. So, Don, I have a big number for you. That's $70 million. That is how much is expected to be lost during this holiday season from smash and grab. per trillions of dollars, $1 trillion that are going to be being bought this holiday season. So every $1 billion spent, around $700,000 is being lost. So if you multiply that, you get $70 million. So that's a lot of product to be being stolen from these retailers.
Do you think stores will start now putting, say, fakes or just examples of what they sell in their stores, and if you want to buy it, they'll ship it to you so they don't have to keep $100,000 of merchandise on property?
Well, it's certainly looking like that. And, this phenomenon, I guess I should say, it's organized retail crime. This has been going on for many, many, many years. This is just getting highlighted now because it's been happening so frequently across the country. But Governor Newsom was saying that this has been ongoing in California. It's just now, you're seeing these organized retail crime rings hitting these stores. 80 people, I think, were the ones that hit Nordstrom. But as he was saying, they have been able to do something about it, in the past. And because of this lack of labor, it's just becoming a problem.
All right, let's talk about the holiday shopping season from a retail standpoint. Hitha, I'm not really sure what to make of it. Obviously, prices are way up, but retail spending is strong. What do you make of it? How does the season look?
Right. Well, we're seeing this hyperloop of inflation. So, yes, certainly prices are going up, and the consumer really wants to go out and spend. There was a lot of pent-up demand over the last couple years. So consumers now have been sheltering in place. In most parts, we've had a pandemic that has lasted almost 2 years. So people want to go out there and spend despite the fact that those prices are increased. Now, there is a lack of product out there. In fact, there's an Oracle statistic that I was reading that consumers are worried about getting Christmas trees. 22% of consumers think that they're not going to be able to get Christmas trees because of the supply chain issue. And speaking of San Francisco, that number increases to 27% because of all the forest fires that were happening in Northern California. So there's certainly that sentiment out there that the consumer is worried. But with price inflation, I think consumer is, for the most part, a little bit agnostic to it and will go out there and spend despite the fact that those prices are increasing.
Right. Is there something in particular, Hitha, that you think maybe is imminent as far as a certain category that might be problematic? Or is this just the land of plenty and it won't be quite as plenty as we're used to?
Well, of course, you're looking at electronics, and electronics are always in high demand during the holiday season. And in this season, that's nothing new. However, because it's so much demand and there's such short supply because of the microchips that are, over the last year, there was a problem with the supply chain on those. So if you do want electronics, I've been telling everyone to go out and shop for them. I know everyone wants to get in on those Black Friday deals. Go out and get those electronics when you see them. Also, you can always go and get the last year's model. They're probably going to be less expensive. There's probably going to be more of it. But those electronics, flat screen TVs, computers, handheld devices, anything with an electronic, even cars, we're seeing with cars, those are going to be in short supply.
One other question, Hitha, before we let you go. Do you think Black Friday has lost its luster and maybe with more people shopping online, that's going to be a trend? And the other thing we talked about today in our meeting is another trend is that more of these stores are closing for whatever reason on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, a lot of these stores are definitely closing on Thanksgiving, mostly because these retailers have spent so much money on trying to make sure that the customer goes online. So if you look at the online infrastructure, especially when it comes to live shopping, you're going to see all of these live shopping events. Walmart, for example, is having this whole long week of live shopping events hosted by celebrities like Jason Derulo going out there. So they're really trying to promote people going online, especially on Black Friday. So while Target is not going to be open, I think Walmart is going to be open on Thanksgiving, and a lot of other stores are going to be in there. But certainly we're going to have diminished traffic going into the stores on Thanksgiving Day.
Retail analyst Hitha Herzog, again, great to have you. Take care. Thanks.
Thanks.
Supply chain issues aren't just affecting holiday shopping. We all have our favorite foods for holiday celebrations. And as you sit down to your Thanksgiving feast, is everything you wanted on the table this year? Let's turn now to Brandon Trosclair. He owns several grocery stores throughout Louisiana and Mississippi. He's also led the legal challenge to President Biden's vaccine mandate for businesses. It's a fight he's actually winning. That's what he's joined us to talk about before. Tonight, Brandon, we want to ask you more about your work as a grocer. How are your shelves? Are you having significant supply issues?
Thanks for having me again, Joe. Yeah, the significant might be a little bit of a stretch there, but pre-COVID in the grocery business, there was a 99% fill rate. It got as bad as 25% fill rate during the height of COVID, and now we're 65, 70. So you're still going to have a full spread on your Thanksgiving table. It might not be the exact brand of ham or brand of canned good, but you're going to have a full spread on your Thanksgiving table.
What are you hearing from your customers, Brandon? Are they telling you that they're struggling, that they're having trouble meeting these higher prices, and as a result, they're maybe changing their buying habits? Are they buying fewer items, or are they buying different items?
Look, the business I'm seeing right now, our business is way up over last year. And I always say last year was kind of a banner year with COVID. The politicians and the scientists tell everybody they couldn't have Thanksgiving and couldn't have holidays last year. So in South Louisiana, this is a big celebration that we can get together. I see more families and multiple parties going on. So no slowdown in the grocery businesses in South Louisiana.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So what are you doing with your prices, Brandon? Are there certain items that you're having to mark up more than others, or is this across the board?
It's across the board. What we're dealing with every day, Joe, is a lot of items being pulled from ads. Some companies aren't doing ads any longer, and continually price increases is day after day after day with certain items. Well, really all items across the board. That's being driven by the trucking industry and the labor shortage across the country, that everything's going up right now.
That's not much you can control, really, but what you can control as far as hiring and other things, what's been your biggest challenge?
Still hiring, and again, just filling the shelves. I'm all about customer service, Joe. If I see an empty shelf, that in my mind, that's poor customer service. So if we can't get an item from somewhere, it's trying to source it from somewhere else, so we can supply that need to our customers. That's the biggest challenge right now.
All right, let's get you on the lawsuit before we let you go. What's the status of it? Now, the last we heard, OSHA was not going to push back on this, but you expected the government would appeal the wins that you've had, the victories that you've earned on this case challenging the vaccine mandate. Where does it stand?
Yeah, so I haven't heard really a whole lot. Haven't heard of any appeals or anything going on. My take on it was they would probably rebrand it, repackage it, and come across in another way. And I think they announced yesterday they're going to start doing things, people traveling across state lines and so forth and so forth. So I'm not sure if they're going to really appeal or just go away on my specific issue, but it's definitely going to come down the pipe in a different package for sure.
You think so? All right, Brandon Trosclair, again, we appreciate your insight and your input on both issues. It's great to have you back. Take care.
Thank you, Joe.
Independent voters have had enough. Our new polling shows they're sick of partisan politics. What does that mean for the two main parties? And has America's democracy taken a hit, even trending in the wrong direction? The answer is yes, according to a new report. The new list the United States finds itself on for the first time, and it's not a good one. And to all our viewers out there, we want to say thank you for making News Nation the fastest growing cable news network in the country. We appreciate it. We spoke earlier about how divided we are and some of the challenges that come with this time of the year when we gather with those we love most, but may not always agree with. Joining me now for more on how to navigate this, SunVision Strategies President Chris Prudhome and founder and CEO of Rebelle Communications, Laura Fink. Great to have you both. You're in the trenches. Chris, let's start with you. How do you talk about these issues that are so divisive and keep it civil?
I'll have one simple answer. I'll say you don't during the holidays.
Or it's hard.
It is hard. Look, we're in a very polarizing time, and it's just a very challenging time. And I just don't think that people have the same sense of thought and understanding as we used to. We all see things through a different lens in life today. And unfortunately, people are so hard on their views and perspectives, straight down a narrow pipe, so to speak. And it's just something I don't think you talk about. People are very intense and they're very thought-provoking in their conversation, especially with the recent election, obviously, with President Trump, former President Trump and President Joe Biden. I just think it's a tough topic. And there's a lot going on in America today with the trials that obviously both trials have just taken place, Ahmaud Arbery and Kyle Rittenhouse. We have a rising cost of inflation. We have the election issue. Some believe it went one way, some believe it went obviously another way. It's just a subject that I personally would not talk about at all.
Laura,
I would advise anybody else, if you want to have a happy household, don't talk.
What happened to us, Laura? I mean, that we can't even really bring these things up now around the dinner table.
Well, it's no secret that we're polarized, and I can tell you that in my household, I've got a father who's a Republican, a mom who's a Democrat, and a whole family of differing opinions. I think one of the things that I try to remind people is that it's important to keep it civil and kind of the power of listening. I think we often want to share our own opinions, but we don't want to listen to others. And you know this, Joe, that the person asking the questions has the power in the conversation. So we all have that ability to sort of ask each other thoughtful questions and to respond with civility and with kindness.
Right, and to listen. It's a great point, Laura. Chris, let's go back to something you brought up here a minute ago, and that's the two trials we just went through. And the Rittenhouse trial in particular, he says he doesn't want to get involved in politics, but politics have gotten involved with him. There are offers of internships from Republican Congress people, and Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to give him a congressional medal. Should we be, politicizing any of this?
So one thing I will say this, and Joe, you know by now, I'm very straightforward and to the point. But I'll say this. One, let's remember that people did die in this particular instance, right? And that's the first thing I want to, it doesn't matter what political party you are, people died. So I don't think that it should personally be politicized. I do understand the aspect of the right to bear arms. I get that 100%. I understand the aspect of those who defending self-defense. I do understand that. At the same instance, to politicize something that was a tragedy, I don't think is right. Obviously, the young man will benefit financially in numerous aspects, and frankly, he probably is in his best interest to do so because he can't go out and get a job, he can't go to school unless he's doing homeschool. But the reality is, I don't think it should be politicized. We're in a very tumultuous time, and people died. But people have their own perspectives and their own opinions in this particular matter. But the fact that there were so many different dynamics in this, and it was such a tumultuous situation. But if you recall, during the trial, he lost 2 lawyers because of there was talks of them going to news medias and trying to sensationalize things. And they said, hey, we just want to show that this kid is obviously innocent in his respect and was doing self-defense. So that was something that obviously even himself and his family was against in the beginning. So I think they should continue on that path and not politicize this because, like you just said, you said it best, Joe, he didn't jump into it. They're politicizing it for him. And I think he needs to kind of do as he's doing, kind of take a step back so he's not creating a monster, so to speak.
Hey, Laura, I want to get you on independents. They're losing faith. In fact, according to Axios, they're increasingly feeling alienated from politics. They don't like the partisan divide. This is not good news for either one of you. What do you do about it?
Well, I mean, it's on brand for political independents to be disengaged and to feel like disconnected from the system, and never more so than in these particular political times. I think there's a little bit of pandemic malaise there that is bringing independents away from the system. I think they don't like their parents fighting, and they see that on the right and the left. And as we talk about politics, it's constantly through a partisan lens. And that's something that, even though they may have partisan leanings and vote more often with one party or another, that's been proven, they don't like it to be framed as such. So they're sort of a party without a home, or people without a home. Now, but keep in mind, what they may not know is, even though they are less engaged than either the right or the left, they swing elections. Independents were responsible for swinging elections in every major congressional takeover. So we're talking in 2018, in 1994, and then what am I missing? In 2008. Or 2010, excuse me.
Right. So, Chris, I heard today someone say Biden won because people were tired of Trump, and now they're tired of both of them. So, typically you see a change election or maybe a status quo election. What do you do in 22 to swing this your way and get these independents?
Well, frankly, I'll say this first. The GOP is going to really have to do a job. They should look at, obviously, the governor's race in Virginia, but it's really going to have to do a job in really motivating more minorities, young people, and women. I think those are really key factors that the party's done a horrible job in, and they're going to have to do a lot better. President Trump did a phenomenal job, obviously, as increasing the African-American vote, but they're going to have to do a more effective job in doing that. Second, we are a very, very polarized country right now, beyond measure. And I don't want to go into one of your next topics, but that's something, obviously, we're a backsliding democracy, so to speak, and our core values have constantly shifted. We have floating principles right now in America. This has to stop. We have to get back to our anchor, and I think they have to focus more on that. Everybody kind of taking a step back and getting to what our core values are. And look, just being people, just being human beings.
But one of the things that's problematic, even with Republicans, Chris, is this whole election integrity. The independents don't like it. They don't like this talk. They think that that's a partisan issue that should be left behind and move forward.
Well, you're right. And there's a reason why the independent community had more folks who did not vote at this time. Actually, it changed from 11 to 16% this year. And they said, hey, you know, we're tired. We don't think anything matters. That's what their thought process was. And look, I think that there's a big divide. We're not going to change it. There are folks who generally believe that President Trump won and that there were issues there. And there are folks who believe that obviously President Biden, the current president, obviously won. But the reality is this. The election outcome obviously was the election outcome. They're still fighting in certain states, obviously, like Arizona and other locations. But I think it's time for us really to come together. We can continue to fight this fight. It could be years. At the end of the day, it's not going to do anything for us to keep this going on, so to speak. And some folks might be mad at me for saying that right now, but I just think it's time for us to come together. The GOP has to focus on 2022 right now. I think we can take back, obviously, the House and the Senate, but we're going to have to be very firm. We're going to have to focus on, obviously, the rising cost of inflation, obviously, and gas prices, things like that.
All right, Laura, let's get you on this Backsliding Democracies report. It is a first. It's the first time the U.S. has been on it, and there are a lot of reasons. The 2020 election that we talked about, the polarization, state voting rights. How troubling is this to be on this list, Laura?
It's incredibly troubling, and key within the findings were that the January 6th insurrection and the undermining of the election results without facts truly were what put us on this list. So the lack of trust, and whether it's independents or Republicans, the lack of trust that this breeds within the system makes us less of a robust democracy. The election integrity issue is critical. We have to trust the systems, and we have to trust the independent actors. And we've seen that erosion, you know, not just in the electoral system, we've seen it in the health system with people not trusting public health officials. Those are the types of things that cause us to backslide. So if we want to get this back on track, we've got to trust those nonpartisan election officials. We've got to trust the results of elections, even when your guy or gal didn't win.
I hope we all agree on that. We got to bounce. We're out of time. But thank you to SunVision Strategies President Chris Prudhome and founder and CEO of Rebelle Communications, Laura Fink. Great to have you both. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.
You too. Thanks, Lajo.
And how an NFL star, now a glimmer of light in the wake of the Waukesha tragedy, how he's helping the grieving community there. Back with our American Snapshot next. A frozen turkey got to fly in a different way on an Austin-bound Southwest flight. Turkey pictured here rolling through TSA at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, safely secured in the overhead compartment during the flight. The bird even got to board with the A group. Talk about an early bird special. In Inglewood, California, rapper Snoop Dogg handed out more than 2,000 Thanksgiving turkeys.
And we've been doing this for years, man. Me and the mayor in the city of Inglewood, this is what we do. We come out here, we make sure that those that don't have, that they have the opportunity to get at it.
Snoop teamed up with the LA Rams and Chargers to make Thanksgiving a little easier for those who need it most. You know how Snoop cooks his turkeys, don't you? He smokes them. Sorry. The writers left early for the holiday. That's the best I could come up with. All right, time for our American Snapshot now. Native Son helps out Waukesha after the parade tragedy. That's our snapshot, and here it is. Waukesha native NFL star J.J. Watt has offered to pay the funeral expenses for all 6 of the victims of the Waukesha parade tragedy. The Arizona Cardinals defensive end certainly doing his best to help out those families in Waukesha. That's our snapshot. And on that note, I want to thank you for watching the Donlon Report. I am grateful for that, and also all the guests who take time out of their day to make us all smarter, and especially all the people behind the scenes you don't see who make it all happen. The producers, the bookers, the crew, all of them. From all of us here at News Nation, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.